Meeting order. This is a common council meeting of Tuesday, September 1st, 2015. Roll call.
Alderman Kirkowski.
Here.
Bekavich.
Here.
Verhaelen.
Here.
Tillman.
Here.
Gale.
Here.
Guzekowski.
Here. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Thanks, everybody, for being here tonight and watching at home on Channel 25 on Time Warner and 99 on UVerse. Item 3 is approval of the minutes of August 18th. Need a motion.
Kirkowski, go ahead.
Go, Steve.
Kirkowski make a motion to approve the minutes of August 18, 2015.
Bekavich will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Bekavich.
Aye.
Verhaelen.
Aye.
Tillman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Item 4 is a presentation from Library Board President Sharon Armstrong, the famous Sharon Armstrong,
I am
legendary Sharon Armstrong.
old. Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for this opportunity. At our August Library Board meeting, we took some time to really talk about the vision that the board would like the staff to go to in our new building. We spent quite a bit of time. It was very interesting, and we felt this needed to be accomplished before we made the move. So we came up with 3 main points. The first one is marketing. We need to make the entire community aware of everything the library has to offer. The board wants to see more outreach into the community and more partnering with other community people and groups. The staff is being asked to develop new ways to spread the word about the great services we provide to the Oak Creek community. We're pleased about the Facebook page that we have, but we feel it's important to market our services in more traditional formats as well. And that's going to include a welcome brochure for patrons outlining library services and answering basic questions, mailings to target groups explaining how we can benefit them, news releases, and any other tools we can develop. The second point we came across was programming. We feel the new building has lots of meeting room space for a reason. The board would like the staff to show the public ways in which the library is the lifelong learning center of the community, and that means more programs for people of all ages. We were especially excited about creating more training programs, such as the Bring Your Own Device workshop that was held this summer, and offering more children and family programs. We're also looking forward to having the rec department bring some additional programs into the library space. The third point was technology. It's important to the board that the library stays relative in the community, keeping up with the latest technology, being able to train and troubleshoot that technology for patrons, and offering as much technology as we can to the public in the new building. That's a cornerstone to maintaining that relevance. The board emphasized that they believe the library will continue to serve as the community geek squad and feel it's important for staff to stay current with relevant technologies, making sure the library is purchasing new technologies for patrons to experience in our building, and that staff knows how to troubleshoot problems and questions that patrons have. In light of all of that, the board also has set new library hours. Those will be effective Tuesday, September 8th. Currently now, during the summer, we are closed on Sundays. And our new hours, we will be closed on Sunday all the time. So we thought the 8th of September was a good day to start. We'll be open Monday through Friday, 9 to 8, which will make it less complicated than some days now we're open at 10, some at 12. And Saturdays will be open 9 to 4. Since we'll be closed on Sunday, we felt it was important to offer patrons more weekend hours. And so what we decided was Friday night, making that addition to 8 o'clock. Right now it's 5. And we felt as Drexel Town Square develops, we'll have the opportunity to offer programs in conjunction with some of the Friday night plans that they have in activities at the square. These hours will also better align with the hours of the rec department in the morning and give library staff more flexibility in the times that we offer our morning programs. It will also provide additional hours to sign up for recreation programs and for people to purchase the discounted passes on Friday night. We're going to revisit these hours in 2 years and evaluate how they work for the community needs. So I just want to say the library appreciates your time, support, and interest. We're extremely excited about the move, and we're going to try to pass that along to the community.
Excellent. Any questions for Sharon? Alderman Toman.
Sharon, thanks for coming tonight. Are you, will there be interaction with staff on rec and library as far as answering questions and?
Yes,
like what we're doing?
Our goal is to have the rec staff be trained to be is clerk the right word, Joe? Circulation circulation aid. They will be trained to do the circulation aid work, in other words, work at the checkout desk. And then the library staff is already working on Rec Track, where people sign up, and we've been doing that since January 1st, for rec programs. So once we get into the building and get everybody there, they'll all be trained to do each other's jobs.
Okay, and where is the main body of your staff? Would it be on the first floor then, or a second, or how?
I don't have the answer to
How's
that,
that gonna
Mike.
play out?
Jill, why don't you come on up?
Just curious as to,
The staff is basically going to be split between the 2 floors. The way that it's going to work right now is it's going to be set up very similar to our current setup, where checkout activities will happen on the first floor. Right now, we have the checkout desk, and then we have the reference desk. So the checkout desk will be the first floor, the reference desk will be the second floor desk, and then the recreation staff will also be at the second floor.
okay. So rec staff will be mainly on the second.
For the time being, yeah.
All right.
To start.
Okay, and do we have a handle on the fundraising efforts? So where we're at right now?
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you the exact number, but fundraising has definitely slowed down.
Okay.
I'm really hoping that once we get into the new space and people see what we have to offer the community, that that's going to pick back up. We have no intention of stopping our fundraising efforts, and we have some different ideas in the works right now, some different fundraisers that we could do. We did that mass mailing to the community. We're talking about doing something similar just to get that word out.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I would definitely think if you're talking about doing marketing, that you make that a piece of that marketing effort. You know, when we move into that new building, if somebody sees something, they may ignore a mailing, but they may not ignore something that's, you know, right in their face when they get inside the building. And I took a walk through with the city administrator and a few other folks last week, and it's a spectacular space. I mean, it's amazing. I think the public's going to really appreciate it. And that's really, they're not going to be walking around the interiors of City Hall. They're going to be walking around the interiors of the library all the time. And to have those expanded hours, especially on Friday, you know, Meyer donated some money for a teen internet cafe that's when the kids would be using it, right, on a Friday night till, you know, after 5. So I think you guys are right to adapt those hours to what the public wants to see. City Administrator?
I want to make sure Sharon doesn't lose the opportunity to let the public know that in preparation for the move, we're actually going to be closing the library for a period of time, and it might be good to talk about that as the library starts to pack up the books and get them ready to move, and a good opportunity to let the public know about that.
Right. The library will be closed from October 10th through October 18th, and then we will reopen at the new facility on October 19th.
Do you have a handle on when you might do some walking tours of the new facility? Have you gotten that far yet for the public? I mean, just the stuff that we saw, there's a lot of things that could use some explanation. All those meeting rooms, those small, quiet study places. And
City Administrator just reminded me, we did choose a date for the grand opening. It'll be Saturday, November 7th.
November
Yes.
7th? Okay. Any idea on time?
I think we talked about 9 to 1, and we would do guided tours basically to explain the concepts of the buildings and take folks around at that point.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments? Thank you both.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, moving to new business. Item 5 is a motion to enter into a relocation services agreement with Ace Worldwide Relocation Services to relocate, you have relocation in that sentence like 5 times. Relocate furnishings for library and city hall to the new facility in October 2015 in an amount of $20,000 and $20,374. City Administrator.
We want to make sure people know we're relocating.
Yeah, I got that.
Oh, okay, so that's good. We're splitting a lot of work right now, and Jill went through the building, both the library and the city hall. The primary move is going to be the books from the library with a smaller portion from the city hall. We had 8 different vendors that we'd send RFPs out through. There were walkthroughs with a good number of them, 4 or 5. This is mostly a time and material project. You see the proposal from Ace Worldwide Relocation Services. We felt that they had a very good handle on the project. We had good references from them. They do plan on talking to our staff so that staff knows what to expect as part of the move. People are anxious right now, I would say. They're more than mildly anxious, and this is one of the issues that they're anxious about. And $20,000 we think is a pretty good estimate for the move. There's going to be a pre-move. There'll be different dates for the library and the city hall, and there's a lot of coordination for this that we're in the process of. We've got teams of folks. The library has teams of folks that are looking at this, and we're still putting it all together.
So, because I haven't read how that all going to work. So the employee boxes up their own items?
In some cases, they put files on carts. The carts get wrapped with basically cellophane, and then it gets rolled over, gets put into their space. They unload it, so it's really a nice system. Some furniture is going from here to the new location. I think for the library, they were very impressed that they didn't have to sort their books and put pieces of paper where they wanted starts and stops, because they're taking them off the old shelves, bringing them in and putting them into the new shelves. That's really the large part of the work. I think we've got 19 movers that are going to be in the building with 2 trucks on Friday the 16th. So we shut down to the public at noon. At that point, everything's basically boxed up and ready to go. So we're starting to shut down operations on Wednesday, and then we'll have kind of a soft opening on the 19th, have most of our critical functions, but then bring functions up over a 2-week period. So as much as we can plan it at this point, we have. Employees have been very cooperative with this. We'll be bringing more information to them in terms of what to do. Little things, everybody hoards supplies, they've got the staples and all of those kinds of things. We're coordinating those in one location under the new building. It's central purchasing, it's central distribution. So those are getting turned back into a central point and boxed up, so a lot of changes that are going on here. And I would say generally people are doing a pretty good job with it.
Yeah, I've
a
seen
little bit of anxiety still.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of direction, email from you, email from city clerk, kind of where things are, especially throwing out stuff that we don't need any longer. I know that's being processed quickly, so.
We've got the streets department that's here daily, picking up our recycling materials, helping with that. We've got a shredding operation that's going for the confidential. Again, this is a small portion of a lot of activity that's going on right now.
Yeah, 60 years of a building's life, accumulated a lot of
Interesting
stuff.
what we're finding sometimes.
Yeah. Anything else? If not, motion on 5.
Gail, move to enter in or actually approve a motion to enter into a relocation services agreement with Ace Worldwide Relocation Services to relocate furnitures for the library and city hall to the new facility in October 2015 in the amount of $20,374.
Guzekowski, a second.
Roll call?
Alderman Verhaelen.
Aye.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Bekavich.
Aye.
Item 6 is a motion to award a bid to construct 2 shade structures at Drexel Town Square to ADK Design in the amount of $25,040.
As the background indicated on this, bids came in for the infrastructure work back in the spring. significantly over what our budget had been, and we worked very hard to try to get that budget in line. I think the public will not really know very many of those things that have been changed, but we made a number of significant changes to get the budget back in line, which it is now. One of the things that was taken out of the plan at that point were shade structures. You can't see it very well in the attachment, but there's the Drexeltown Square plan on the west side of that plan, which would be towards the left. There's actually a splash pad that's there. That splash pad is in place right now. It's got any number of water features that are activated, foot activated and things like that. So it should be a very active place. Basically, the system's in right now. It's a major feature of the park. There's a planting bed and a seating area right to the west of this, and there were planned shade structures for that area. The bids came in, we thought, very high at $84,000. We sought some additional bids working with the architects, and we were able to get a low bid of $25,040 for the two structures that would be located in that area. Again, that's not within the infrastructure budget, but we're recommending that we use park impact fees to fund that, that it's an important amenity to the park. It would provide sun shelter as well as sheltering from rain conditions and things like that in the park. And we think it's kind of a critical component of the park, and we'd like to see that project funded and use the impact fees. Very few impact fees are actually being used at this site. I think, as Alderman Bukavich would know, most of our impact fees have been going to Abendschein, the various phases here. We've got probably $350,000 in park impact fees that are coming from the 600 units that are there. So I think it makes some sense to use some of those on the site.
Do we consider the public square park space?
It is, and that's going to end up deeded to us. That's kind of the discussion we had earlier, whether it was going to stay under DTS's ownership or the city's, and I think we've conceded it'll end up with the city.
Okay. Questions? Alderman Bukavich?
That's always been a question because it was always under the assumption it wasn't going to be our park, so why would our impact fees be going to it? The other question is, what are we going to generate in impact fees out of Drexeltown Square?
About park or all together?
I guess altogether.
Oh, boy, that's a tougher question.
Okay, break it down to the answer.
I think the park impact fees are about $670 per unit for the residential units. We have 600 units out there, so you can see that's over $360,000. So, I mean, it's going to be approaching $400,000 in the park impact fee.
I mean, it's kind of past the point, but in the design of this park, obviously, it came through architecture, the whole deal. It never passed through council, park and recs, or planning for that matter. Where was the approval with the design of the park and the pads and blah, blah, blah?
Actually, I think the Plan Commission did see that in site plan review. So I think all of those details were part of the Plan Commission site plan review. Remember one time we had life-size chess pieces and things like that, and that was one of the things that got removed?
We also had informationals at the council on 2 occasions.
Any restroom facilities?
There are. The public restroom facilities are going to be in the Wired building that's going to be on the east side of Main Street. So backing up the public restroom facilities are going to be a police substation. And so there will be public restroom
So the
facilities.
city will be leasing those from
Correct.
Wired Properties?
Correct.
Okay, guess that's about
The
it.
city or the association, that's an ongoing discussion.
Okay,
Done?
yeah.
Alderman Guzikowski?
Actually, Alderman Bukowitz kind of stole my thunder a little bit, but I was going to ask about, I wasn't sure why we would be paying for the shade structures here if it wasn't on a city property, but not realizing what the dynamics are with the park here. I guess you answered the question then, Jerry. Thank you.
Alderman Toman?
That pad is there already, Jerry? Is that what you said?
It's there.
Okay, which drawing is it circular? Is that the?
Yeah,
one?
if you look at the,
Okay, I see that.
right, if you look at the far, which it's labeled A,
And then on the back, it's got a rectangular
Right.
rendition, but it's going to be circular, okay.
no, it's actually, the circle is around the pad, so the pad actually is rectangular. And it's actually colored concrete, and it's in place. What's really neat about it, the actual water features are also lit at night.
gotcha.
So this
Okay.
is going to be a pretty cool feature in the evening, and you're going to be able to see the water out there. It's going to
Okay.
be pretty popular.
There's going to be a shade structure on each side of the,
There would be two on the west side of that.
on the west side.
Yeah, so that triangle that you see a little bit west, that's a planting bed and a seating bench, and they're basically going to be along that area and kind of over what would be the seating area there.
Okay, and there's going to be,
They showed a lot better in color.
okay, so there's actual seating right underneath that pad, then there's
Correct.
a raised, okay.
There's a raised planter.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Other questions? Motion on 6?
Gail will move to award a bid to construct 2 shade structures at Drexel Town Square to ADK Design in the amount of $25,040.
Kirkowski will second.
Roll call?
Alderman Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Bekavich.
Aye.
Verhaelen.
Aye.
Item 7 is a motion to award the Cisco teleconference bid to Core BTS, and I noticed there was a handout for us. I guess that's up-to-date information.
Correct. That one, I apologize for that being late, but we were negotiating and finalizing the design on that this afternoon yet. And so that's why I gave that one to you at the last moment. But that contract there is, it's for the teleconferencing at the new City Hall and Library. Teleconferencing, if you're not familiar with it, is a process where it's basically a video phone, or they use it in classroom settings where the cameras will focus on the individual speaking. They move, they rotate, they zoom in on individuals. Then they also, a presenter can show his presentation on one screen. It's an interactive learning experience, allows communication, allows meetings between individuals or groups of people. Polycom is another example of that. Skype is a crude example of that. Most of you probably have seen Skype or use Skype. FaceTime is another real basic example of that as well. These items here listed are 70-inch monitors. They are equipped with cameras, speakers, microphones, everything basically that you'd need to record or transmit or communicate with another group of people. They're going to be put in, you can see they're listed into which conference rooms they're going in. Unfortunately, I did not put the current names of the conference rooms that are going to be at City Hall, but you can, from the descriptions, you can kind of figure out which ones they are. They're in the library, City Hall, and in the center area. They'll be used by city staff, library staff, and the public. They can be operated using your smartphone, your iPad, your laptop, connected to wirelessly. You can project up there for your own displays, for your own meeting in the rooms. You can also transmit that to someplace in another state, for example, or another country even. These are from the state contract. The state has bid these out on the state contract, and so the pricing on these that you'll see on the right side there is a state contract pricing. I've negotiated with Cisco and with Core BTS to get us an additional discount there, which you'll see is $108,000. It does include installation, which is $30,000 for the installation of all these units. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
One of the things I was asked earlier by Council President Gale was to provide our estimates, because we've got 6 of these on for tonight. We have estimates for each one of these that we'll provide for you. I don't know if you want me to do that up front so that you know what they are before you start, or if you want them one by one. But the estimate going into this one for video teleconferencing was $201,000, $832. So this one's a little high, but you'll see most of the other ones are under substantially where our estimates were, so we're within our budget when you get through all of these 6 or 7 items.
Okay. Alderman Gale.
Caesar, so we are getting professional installation, so someone from the outside is actually going to make sure these are going to be up and running and operational.
That is correct. Our staff is not doing the installation. We will be involved in the configuration as far as how it connects to our network, but we actually have Cisco staff coming in to do the installation on this.
Who's going to be doing the training so we make sure we can actually fully utilize the features?
They will be doing the training. They will be training city staff and library staff. And the library staff, it's my understanding, when the public wants to use some of these technology items, the library staff will be training the people that need to use those items.
Do we have hotline accessibility or anything like dedicated service with this contract? Or
Sorry, Ken?
do we have like dedicated service with this, Caesar, or help desk type assistance from Cisco?
At this point, we can get that, yes.
Okay.
The public would not be able
All
to.
right, yeah,
But yes, we can.
okay,
Good, Ken.
that's good, yeah.
Alderman Bekavich.
I don't suppose you were prepared to have a layout of City Hall and show where these conferences sit, because in a later item, we have just numerous monitors that may be going into the same area. And I take it these can't double as the monitors.
Correct. What you'll see in the display monitors are separate from these items. And these items are, wherever one of these is going to be positioned, there will not be a display monitor in that room. This will be the substitute for the display monitor. As you can see, some of these are 70-inch. There's a few dual 70-inch there. So you will not have a display monitor in that room other than this. And they will function as a display monitor or as a video conferencing system.
So we can actually think of these as additional monitors to what we're going to see
That
in
is
item
correct.
11?
What I can tell you, in the display monitor section, when we originally designed the displays for the city hall and the library areas, we listed all the monitors that we wanted, and you'll see there's a list of those there.
I take it you got them all.
Yeah. Several of those monitors, the teleconferencing will replace several of those monitors as well, so that will change slightly. But
Dunn.
we have display monitors in a lot of places.
I'm really having a hard time visualizing it. It really seems like a lot of overkill. How many square feet is each building? At about 30
Yeah, it's a little over 90,000 square feet
for both buildings.
for both buildings. The current technology, everything is visual with people, and especially with young people.
I don't argue that. Here's the other question. The way technology is moving, are they going to be obsolete in 5 to 6 years?
Right, the monitors themselves, well, and you see it with your own home TV sets, the technology changes, but then again, that first flat screen you bought still works, and you can still use that, so it's not that you have to replace it.
True, in that regard. The monitors, how many hours do you get out of an LED monitor there? Because these things are going to run, 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day? What are we going to be looking at?
They have an auto sleep mode, and when they're not being used, they will be shut down. And they will be powered, they'll go into sleep mode, which will save power. Yes, they are on a 3-year warranty, but I cannot tell you how many hours they're rated for at this point. I'd have to go check on that. I don't know that.
Okay, thank you.
Did all of these 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, did they all go through CIP?
They all went through either CIP or the building program.
Okay. So the members of CIP might want to weigh in on what their thoughts are when they first looked at that.
Unfortunately, Mayor, that was probably looked at it over nearly a year ago.
Well, if you have any previous memory of what you guys talked about. Alderman Guzikowski.
I just had a question on availability as far as, will this be up and running and installed and ready to go when we first move in, or is it going to be first of the year? What are you looking at
one of my first questions to all of these vendors when we bid this out was, what's your delivery date and your installation date? And I've been assured, now, I can't force them to do something, but I've been assured by all the vendors for each of these items here that they will be able to have them ordered, installed, and functional by October 19th.
Yeah.
It means there's going to be a lot of contractors running around there, but that's what they're promising at this point. They're aware of our schedule, and they are planning on meeting our schedule.
Thanks.
Alderman Verhaelen?
I'm kind of looking at the various items coming up as well as this one, and granted, I agree that the technology has to be utilized in a new building, but I've had occasion to be in a lot of different city halls over the last couple of years, and including downtown Milwaukee and MMSD's buildings downtown Milwaukee, and this seems like it's not only keeping up with the Joneses, it's passing the Joneses up, and we're passing the Smiths and the Johnsons and everybody else up here. It seems like Alderman Bukowicz said, it's kind of overkill, and I'm kind of looking at the expense and the ongoing maintenance and upgrades we're looking at spending on these things versus the hours of use. And the city hall is not like a multifaceted corporation, even though we do a lot of different things at City Hall, but having so many of these monitors and so many of these conference rooms set up with these facilities, it just seems like a lot of it's not going to be utilized. It'll be utilized, but very sparingly. I mean, how many times, even in City Hall now, I mean, there's, staff meetings and whatnot go on a few times a week. Mayor maybe has occasion to teleconference with maybe a developer. Jerry has instances where he has to talk with other developers or other people coming into town, but, in no way, shape, or form are we going to use 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 venues, all the time. It's something that's going to be used very sparingly, and a lot of this stuff will probably never hardly get used. That's why I'm kind of looking at this, and I agree there's some of it's got to be put in City Hall, but I think it's a lot of overkill. A lot of overkill.
Well, I guess, what you have to look at is it's not just for the city staff to use, it is also for the public to use. And those center conference rooms where we're putting this type of technology in will be available for businesses to come in, public groups, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, you name it, HOAs, whatever group wants to come in and use those facilities will be able to use those. So we're anticipating that if we make that available, a small business group might come in and want to do a teleconference with.
We gonna charge anything to use them?
Yes, we're looking at charging to use them.
Is it going to be an hourly rate or a per usage rate, or how are we going to do it?
So right now, I've been looking at different policies that other libraries use for how they rent out spaces for communities. There's a couple of different options. Some of them do it by hour, some of them do it by event, some of them have a different rate for if it's a business versus a nonprofit. So one of our plans is that we're going to wait until we get into the buildings and take a little bit of time to be able to sit down and actually figure out what we want those rates to be and if we want how that's going to work out. So we're planning on having something in place by the first of the year, and that's something that the city and the library are going to coordinate together.
I've got one other question for you as long as you're up there. Franklin, I know, has a very substantial library, and I think Cudahy has a very nice library also. They put up a couple years ago. Do any of the other cities around have this type of service available to their citizens, what you're talking about here?
I know that Franklin does, and Franklin also does charge for their meeting rooms. They just started charging.
Not for the meeting rooms, for this type of service.
Well, what they do is they charge for if you rent one of their rooms, you pay for the room, but then you also get access to everything, all of the equipment in that room.
You still won't answer my question. I said, do they have this service?
Yes, they do. Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, Franklin has it. Another thing that the library at least plans on using it for a lot is training. A lot of library training now is done through webinars, and with such a small staff, that allows us to let people do it during the times without having to travel. So we don't have to pay for travel expenses, and they can do it we can get a group of people together, they can all go to the same training, but if we need somebody to go out to the desk to help a member of the public, we're right there to jump out and help them as well, so. On the library side, at least, that'll be a great benefit.
Done, Mark?
I guess,
I'd
with
just
this
like-
one.
I'd just like to say one other thing about that. You notice in the back corner of this room, there's a 70-inch sharp monitor.
Yep.
And we have 3 of those currently here. And I purchased the first one, it was about 3 years ago. And the demand was such that we started picking up additional units. We use those for presentations here in quite a few of our meetings, but we also use them for webinars at this point, where it's training where the city staff does not have to go to a different building to get trained, or they can investigate issues. They can go on the internet and display information that a group of people here can see as well. Those 3 units get used quite a bit. If you come through during the day, you'll see that those units, it's not that we keep one in each room and they're never used concurrently. There's many times that those are used concurrently. So the future is going to be more in video, broadcasting, training, webinars, instructions on how to use software, on how to use different items. It's a cheaper way to go. You don't have to send your staff and pay to have them travel someplace to go to a meeting.
Alderman Gale?
Caesar, just maybe eliminate some confusion. The stuff that's shown on your copy you delivered to us tonight, the various items here, these are obviously proven, readily available, readily used, widely used
That is
pieces of
correct.
equipment.
That is correct.
This is not bleeding edge, cutting edge.
Yes, they're on the state bids, but if you go around, the 2 major video conferencing players out there are Polycom and Cisco. LifeSize is the third player in the group. But if you go to a lot of businesses, you'll start seeing this kind of thing. Many cities have this. The city here already has Polycom systems in place. We have one at each fire station. And they use it for training all the time. So this is proven technology. It's been around multiple years. It's not new, cutting edge at all. None of these items are. The newest item on the list there is the one for the council chambers, that SX80, and that replaced the CE90, which has been around for 4 years already.
So, and Jerry, you could probably shed some light on that too. I mean, we've been through this process and planning and programming for a couple of years at least that this building has been in the works. I would trust staff and our consultants have provided hours and hours of assistance in programming and help with establishing our requirements for where we want to be with our technology and our provisions for our citizenry and our new city hall. So I'm fully comfortable with what we've got here, and maybe you could shed a little more light on how we went about determining what.
Yeah, that's correct. We've had a program, we've had a steering team that's included the 3 of us at the table, Jill, Caesar, myself, and then Doug, our owner's rep, and we've retained the services of a professional company that's guided us through this called CEC. So we retain them to take us through this process. And one of our guiding principles has been we don't want any bleeding edge technology and more towards leading edge. So none of this stuff is not proven. We also had a strong preference for having systems that were easy to operate. I think some of you asked the right questions at the start of this. What's your support? What's your help desk? Technology that you can't use is not very good technology. You may have that at work, you may have that at home, where you've got things that aren't usable. We particularly went through a process to try to get technology that is very usable, and I think we've got some really cool stuff. We've got a system, and I think it's called, it's not click it and ticket, but it's click it and use it. It's click, share. And all of these monitors, anybody who's got a smartphone or a device can plug this little hockey puck basically into their system. And again, this is for the public. When you heard Sharon talk about, we really want to make sure that this system is available to the public, it's got to be explainable and usable to the folks who are going to be using these rooms. You plug this into the system, you push the button, and your stuff shows up on the screen. It's really some pretty good technology that's going to be very usable. We think it's really important that the public have this kind of technology available to them, whether it's the kids or the businesses, so that they can see what works and see how their community is I suppose, with the modern technology. So we've been actually using this at the City Hall on the smart boards. We like it a lot. And that's the process we went through. We also took the individual employees in City Hall. We had meetings several times with probably 15 different people to make sure we had that input. The clerk, if you might recognize, has a lot of input into the video recording, the audio recording in terms of the system. We had library staff as well. So there's a pretty thorough process there. And we had this as scalable. I mean, clearly you could eliminate a room or two if you wanted to. Overall, we're within our budget, and if that's something you want to do, we could. We think that potentially limits the multi-use of the facilities. We oftentimes have more than one meeting room, and potentially we expect 3 to 4 of these meeting rooms are going to be used pretty much every day after 4 o'clock by the public. We think they're going to be very, very popular.
So it boils down, Jerry, this is not overkill. This is smart and prudent programming for a building we expect to be functional across not only for the city staff's needs, but for the needs of our citizenry. And this is a building that should be useful well into the future, rather than the structure we see surrounding us and the folks that deal with the current structure at the library. It's a building that will be useful and viable for a long time in the future. And this is a prudent investment. So,
Alderman Bekavich.
The first couple items you got listed are medium-sized conference rooms with one 70-inch monitor, and then you go to the very bottom and there's a medium conference room, and that one calls for a dual. And yet we have a large conference room with a dual with the exact same setup. So why all of a sudden is this medium room in need of a dual? Again, without a layout, I have no idea what I'm picturing, if these are library rooms, city hall rooms.
The S rooms are the rooms that are in the center of the shared spaces. So if you see a C in front of a room number, it's in the City Hall section. If you see an L in front of a room number, it's library, and the S are in the shared area. That being said, trying to remember where 121 is. 121 is on the north side, just north of the reception area, I believe. And that room, while we classify it as a medium conference room, that is an extremely large medium conference room. So what we're trying to do is create a position. What happens with the dual 70-inch monitors is when somebody is presenting, there's one camera that focuses on the individual that's presenting, and it displays on one monitor. The second monitor will display what that person is showing on his laptop or whatever PowerPoint presentation, whatever he's showing. So you'll see 2 screens there. A dual 70-inch will show 2 screens. One will be the presenter, so you can feel like you're talking face-to-face to the presenter, and the other screen will be what he's presenting, so you can also see what he's showing at the same time. So you get more of an interaction and a back and forth.
Now, these systems, they'll be hardwired to city servers, so if we're at planning, we can pull up blueprints or whatever is needed.
Correct.
So if I come in from the public, I'm sure you're gonna have firewalls and safety, but what's our threat of being hacked when anybody can plug in and they're they're really hardwired to our server at that point in time.
Well, actually, those conference rooms and those units will be in a VPN, which it's a limited network that the only place they can go is out to the internet. So if you come in and you connect to that room, you only have the ability to get. We limit where you can go, so you're not actually touching our network.
Okay.
But staff will be able to, based upon the equipment that they bring into the room, they will be able to touch our network
Okay.
using that equipment. So
And my last
I
question,
know it couldn't sound
the
complicated.
3 boards we have, where are they going in the new city hall?
We actually have those positioned, one staying on a cart, so it's going to be flexible, and the other 2 we have positioned in 2 of the other rooms. So we do have all 3 accounted for at this point.
Wow. Okay. That's it for me.
But-
I see you have a 70-inch monitor in the mayor's office. It's just my opinion, since I'm the person that's going to be sitting in that office for the next few years. I can certainly live without having it in there. I could probably walk to one of the other conference rooms to use it if I needed to. Unless you think of some reason why I would absolutely have to have one in there. So it's the smallest of all the items, but I could certainly live without it. Alderman Guzikowski, so if you want a symbolic cut, there's one you can make.
Just a couple things. What didn't get the name, Jerry. Click It Ticket? What's it called?
Oh, click and share.
Click and share. So we had the opportunity at the Lake Vista meeting last week. One of the contractors had to share what was on his desktop, and then Carrie had to share what was on her desktop. So we plugged them in, and you click it, and it was pretty slick because it would have kind of brought us to a grinding halt if we weren't able to get to what we were looking for. So very neat feature. Just going back to the hourly rates, for consistency's sake, will we be looking at the same policies, user policies at the city hall and the library, and the number of times per year and so on and so forth that people can use it?
The answer is yes, and I think we want to make sure that people are using this. We don't want to price it to the point where they're not, but we also want to make sure that we're bringing the dollars in to replace the technology over time. So we've got to figure out right where that is, but we don't want to get it to the point where a small not-for-profit group, let's say the Boy Scouts that are in there, and they're part of a teleconference or a training program that's a national program. We don't want to price that out where they can't do that. We think that that's very valuable, and this is the right space where we want to bring people in to do that. It is, both Jill and Caesar said, we are getting this kind of training constantly. CIVMIC does, which is our insurance carrier, does almost all of their training via web conferences, and it's increasingly being done. We have groups of employees, 2, 5, 10, that are doing this, as well as most of the development meetings that we had one today. We, Mayor and Council President, were there along with the Community Development Director and myself. Every time we have a conference, we're pulling up information off of our GIS system, off of our development system, and showing it on these screens. I mean, that is just the way we work practically every meeting we're at. So that's just the way things work today.
Thank you.
Alderman Kirkowski.
I'm not having a hard time wrapping myself around the items on number 7. It seems logical that it's going to be part of the process and the whole use of the rooms there. But I don't want to skip ahead, but visual sometimes is an important need to try and make decisions. And I think when we get to item 11, 46 monitors, I think I'm going to need more than just a list of where and what. You know, I'm having a hard time with, but 7 I'm good with.
Okay,
Thank you.
Alderman Verhaelen.
Just one more question I have. As far as the room rentals or the equipment rentals, whatever it may be, as those rentals come in, because any upgrades or anything is going to be put through the city with, future budgets and whatnot, Is there going to be a separate fund set up with a portion of those rentals or anything to
I think that would.
probably
be-
go
be
into
wise
replacing
to
their
do that.
equipment?
Yep, I think that would be wise to.
Is that something that's going to be considered, though?
Absolutely. I think it's a good idea because essentially we're saying if you want to be able to have this technology that you're using, we need to replace it over time and we need to have a funding source for that. So I think that's perfectly legitimate and we can certainly make that part of the recommendation. So it'll come in the fee schedule. We do the fee schedule. That's the fees across the board and we can segregate those fees out.
Okay.
Put them in a sinking fund.
Any other questions? Motion on, go ahead, Alderman Toman.
I didn't hear anybody answer the mayor's question of if there's a specific use for having a 70 in his office. I didn't hear any reply to that.
I don't need it.
Because
so-
if there isn't, let's
Take it out.
X it out.
Yeah. If you want to make a cut there.
Mayor, this is not a.
I understand it's not about me, but in
No,
the next 3 years, I
this
don't
is-
need a TV.
This was a request for bid. This is,
I understand, I get it.
This is a-
It seems like there's a mood that some people want to make a symbolic cut in this item. The thing I don't understand is you're building a brand-new building that's technology-based, doing a lot of things geothermal that other buildings aren't doing. You can argue about the technology and you can cut here and cut there, but at some point, we're outfitting a new building. There's going to be significant costs associated with that. So that would be my point. But if you want to make a symbolic cut, make it there.
do you have that flexibility, Caesar, in this RFB process, or this is the
Well, I
proposal
looked
we
in the
have?
list to see, but as far as the vendor goes, I do. As long as Melissa doesn't have heartburn over changing the bid by that amount.
I think the bottom line is that it went out to bid, so this is the resulting low bid and responsibility to the
Well,
citizens.
this
under the state
particular
contract.
one is based on state contract pricing. So the items are based on state contract and then with a discount. So this one is not, it was not bid amongst multiple vendors. It was based on state contract pricing. So each item was listed for a state contract. But the state has bid that project. And we're selecting off the state bid.
So this is one of those components.
Yes, the mayor's system, for example, is a component that was compiled together to form this price. Does that answer? I mean, the components are pieced together based upon state contract pricing. We selected the components, then both Cisco and Core gave us an additional discount based upon the number of units we selected.
But that discount was negotiated based upon this entire package, correct?
Correct.
So I think that based upon that, it's the negotiated price that's here before the council tonight. It would be different, and I think in the general competitive bid sense, aside from the state contract here, we would essentially be negotiating with the low bidder to then parse out and further negotiate where it would otherwise be eliminating other bidders. So my response is, this is a whole package that's been negotiated based upon the discount that's here in the council report, the core BTS discount,
Correct.
based upon the state bids. It's a whole package.
Ignore my previous comments.
Do you just want me to stop talking?
Mayor, I mean, with Melissa's comment, I mean, I'd advocate moving forward with as it's, the RFB is proposed and giving Caesar the leverage to attempt to negotiate with Cisco on the backside of the contract.
All right, we got two Alderman Bekavich.
I got a couple of things to say. First of all, a symbolic cut isn't what it's about. What it's about is understanding what we're purchasing here for close to $250,000. Okay, and to the general public, looking at this is a big purchase buy. Okay, something they're very unaccustomed to, monitors of this technology. I don't disagree with the technology, and I don't disagree with you, Mayor, about putting in a building and putting in the right infrastructure. There's gonna be cost to it. It's a matter of understanding what we're doing here and making sure we're doing the right thing for a few years to go ahead on this, because this is a substantial investment right here in technology. And again, presentation-wise, when you throw out $250,000, Jerry looking at a print on a table ain't exactly the way to present it. I've said that before. I'm having a hard time visualizing where these rooms are, where it's going to be used.
You make a great point.
So, again, it ain't a symbolic cut.
That was
by
my
any
words.
means. I know.
I understand.
I'm just saying, there's a lot at stake here for $250,000. We want to make sure we understand it, because when we're out there in the general public, we're going to have to explain it. And we don't want to have to just point fingers and go, well, that's what Caesar said.
Well, if that's,
You know?
if there was just one person making a recommendation, but as you said, we had staff that's looked at this, we've had consultants that have advised us. We could have all of these discussions in open session here and talk about every monitor that's in the building, but that's not the proper use of a meeting.
I get that. I'm just saying, me as an alderman, the first time I've seen this is when I picked it up from my mailbox.
And there's nothing preventing any of the aldermen or anybody that looks at the packet from asking the questions of any of the staff in advance of the meeting to answer all those questions. We simply cannot discuss every piece of technology in an open meeting. We'd be here for 10 hours.
Again, this went through CPI and the whole deal, and again, it just, the communication was never shared that we were going to be looking at.
I hear that, I hear that point, but again, we have, we have certain things, certain processes that we go through, and we have to respect staff, and I don't see that happening.
No, I don't think questioning is lack of, is,
You asked a specific question, he brought a printout, that's how he's choosing to address it. Whether he should have had a slick PowerPoint presentation to show where every monitor is, that's your opinion.
it is my opinion, and he's looking kind of confused there on the print. But anyways, go ahead.
Alderman Kukowski.
Just for what it's worth, I understand that there's a monitor and it's listed as being in the mayor's office, but I feel that at some point in the life of this monitor, in the life of the mayor's office, and whoever occupies that office, that there's going to be a time and a place that room, whether it be the mayor using it or council members using it, or some emergency need arises, that is another room that can be used for something. And while it may not get rented out, I don't think we want to rent out your office, Mayor, but
I don't want to clean it up for a rental situation.
But it seems logical that that piece of technology is in that room that could be used for whatever purpose.
Well, the city attorney has indicated that the bid is as is. So.
I just wanted to say that, okay, I'm done.
All right, anybody else? Motion on 7.
Gail, move to award the Cisco teleconferencing bid to Core BTS.
Guzikowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Bekavich.
Aye.
Verhaelen.
No.
Toman.
Aye.
Item 8 is a motion to award the security camera RFB to 911 Security Cameras, Inc. in the amount of $62,350 for the new City Hall and Library. City Administrator.
I'll start out with the estimate before the bids. The estimate was $88,489, and you saw the low bid came in at $62,350. We do have a diagram that we chose not to put in the packet where all the cameras are. We don't want that to be out in the public realm, quite honestly. But we have both interior and exterior of the building that has camera security, as well as in the lower parking level. So we did not want to make the location of that part of the public record, quite frankly.
Understood. Questions? Alderman Bekavich.
Was the police department consulted on location?
The police department was consulted initially when we were doing our security analysis. They have not, at this point, seen the final plan that, well, they've seen the plan, but they haven't seen the final plan of this, where the cameras.
Do they have some input to
They
it?
had input initially as to where we should have the cameras and where we should have microphones.
Okay. If they feel there should be an adjustment one way or another, there's some.
We
give
do
there.
have some flexibility yet to adjust. The police department will be able to view the cameras, the security cameras at City Hall, at the dispatch center, and at several other stations as well.
All right, thank you.
Alderman Guzekowski.
I was going to ask if we had written documentation or locations of these cameras. I'm glad we're not going to make them public, but just to know that they're out there and available, and that we had a plan. Engaging the police department and the fire department as well, I think is important for the whole security plan that we're going to have in place. And I hope that we're employing their help, even though we've got this plan in place here and we're going to vote on this tonight, but they're still part of the process, and going forward that they're going to still be part of the process as our whole new building and everything flows at the new site. So that's all. Thanks.
One of the things I can report to the council is maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago, Jill and I met with Police Chief Edwards. We had actually thought it may make some sense after the city hall closes for all the conference rooms and things like that, or physically to have a presence from one of the, not officers, but their auxiliary folks. John didn't feel that was needed and felt that the video monitoring that we have is sufficient for that, but we said that we'd wait and see how that happens. If we need some additional security, we'll review that later, but we had conversation and sat down, I think 3 weeks ago maybe, with Chief about that.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions? Motion on 8.
Kirkowski will make a motion to award the security camera RFB to 911 Security Cameras, Inc. in the amount of $62,350 for the new city hall and library.
Guzekowski, a second.
Guzzi seconds. Roll call.
Alderman Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Bekavich.
Aye.
Verhaelen.
Aye.
Tillman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Item 9 is a motion to purchase 3 Sharp MX 3140 copiers from Gordon Flesh Company, Inc. in the amount of $22,236 for the new city hall and library.
The estimate for not only these 3, but if you recall, we purchased 2 copiers earlier this year. I think it was in April or May. So the sum total of those 5 copiers estimate was $48,500. And you'll see the low bid came in here at $22,236. The previous low bid that we had for the other 2 copiers was $28,421. So the total of the 5 copiers is $50,657. So within about $1,500 of the estimate.
Okay, questions? Seeing none, motion on 9.
Gail will move to approve the purchase of 3 Sharp MX 3140 copiers from Gordon Flesh Company, Inc. in the amount of $22,236 for the new city hall and library.
Guzekowski, a second.
Roll call.
Alderman Kirkowski.
Aye.
Bekavich.
Aye.
Verhaelen.
Aye.
Tillman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Item 10 is a motion to award the AV system RFB to ESG Enterprise Systems Group in the amount of $432,119.94 for the new city hall and library. Caesar, why don't you start by explaining to the public what that is?
Okay, the digital display hardware, before I start that, I'll tell you that we originally had estimated that at $532,414, and our bids came in, our low bidder was $432,119. What that is equipment that goes throughout the city hall and library. It's the AV systems for the different rooms at the library and at City Hall, the sound systems, the amplifiers. It includes the projectors, the screens. It includes the recording equipment for the common council chambers so that your meetings can be recorded. It includes the necessary hardware to transmit that out, only to the point where we make our connection to Time Warner or UVerse, AT&T. It includes configuration of some of the meeting little displays outside of the rooms and the setup of that. It's a lot of hardware equipment in the multi-purpose room, the children's meeting room, the training room, and the library side of it is included in there. Trying to think what else is in there. Oh. Yeah, basically what we're doing, if you're familiar with the plans at all, the library does have a training room, a classroom situation where they can seat up to 20 students. And there's a room for a presenter and equipment for the presenter to present and train. We also have an additional item which is not included in here for the computers for that room, but that does facilitate so that we can have training classes in that room that the public can use, that the library can use, and that City Hall staff can use as well. Right now, we don't have a way to train City Hall staff because if we want to train them, we bring them in here and we can't set up equipment that they can hands-on use and learn how to use the software. When we did the BSNA training, for example, for our city staff, we brought them in this room, we used the Sharp screens, but they could not actually sit down and work through the program themselves and say, okay, click here, this is what you do next, create a timesheet, things like that. And so it gives you the ability to hands-on train people. So we'll be able to use that for the public and for city staff as well, and for library staff.
So from the original estimate of 532,000, this one came in essentially 100,000 lower.
That is correct.
And this is basically the nuts and bolts of the AV system for the entire building.
Yes, it includes the AV systems in all the conference rooms and in common council, all the other meeting rooms as well,
Okay.
the big meeting rooms.
Question-
Includes mics and everything.
Questions or comments from the council? Alderman Gale.
Sorry, Mayor, yeah, you did cover the 532,000, Caesar, was the original CIP.
532,000.
Jerry or Bridget, can you remind me, this council approves the annual CIP budget. Do you remember when we typically would have gone over these as a council at, what, November-ish, December, Jerry?
Not all of these are in your CIP budget. There's a combination of CIP budget, there's a combination of building budget. There was a $775,000 building budget. We had CIP budgets for computers, for switches, for various components of that.
This item says it was part of the CIP, so it was.
October.
Yeah.
It's part of the building budget as opposed to the CIP. So we've had a number plugged in to the building. We've had the building construction, and then we had building technology for the two buildings. It's been about $775,000, pretty much right from the beginning. So that's part of the building operations.
Duncan?
Yep.
Alderman Kirkowski?
Cesar, is these three cameras right here, are they going over, or are they not part of the new, they won't work with the new system? Okay.
And we have a
Website.
potential purchaser of these.
Well, okay, yeah, I mean, you know, okay, auction material, I
Well,
understand.
we actually have another community that has expressed interest.
Okay, thank you. Oh, one works.
And the bucket.
Yeah, they really like the microphones.
I
Buckets.
probably should have asked this question before, but the microphone system at the new city hall is not going to be like this stuff, right?
No, it's very good, and it's controlled at the, I think either the mayor or the clerk, but it's a very good system. We spent a lot of time with our technical consultant to make sure we got that right. We know we will be sent to the woodshed if it's not.
Yeah, I'm not sure this council wants to give the mayor that kind of control. Alderman Bakavich?
Caesar, you mentioned some of the conference room will have projectors and screens. That technology will still be there despite the monitors we okayed there? There's no way to incorporate the monitors, because you're running off a laptop anyways.
For instance, the council room has two screens that come down from the ceiling, and there'll be projectors there as opposed to monitors because they're a little bit larger. Right across the hall on the west side where the multi-purpose room is, there's 259-inch screens that will be quality projectors and screens that basically are coming down from the ceiling. So there's a combination of projectors and screens where they're larger, as there won't be necessarily monitors in those spaces.
There won't be monitors in the council chambers?
You will, the way it will work for the council, you will each have your own monitor that will be at each of your places. The public will be seeing monitors that are coming from the screens, basically projections. And the staff, at the staff table, there's actually one little monitor, I think, in that room, but I think there's only one monitor, but two projectors.
One monitor. Okay, because I thought we had dual 80 inches going in.
Not in the council chamber.
No. Okay.
They're actually quite a bit bigger than that.
Do we control what's on our monitors?
You have some ability to move around on those, but each of you will have kind of in a tilted area at each of your spaces. Plan Commission as well will have those. Those will be built into the DS.
Okay. Other questions or comments?
So you can roam.
Yeah. Nothing on the board. Motion on 10.
Gail will move to award the AV system RFB to ESG Enterprise Systems Group in the amount of $432,119.94 for the new City Hall and Library.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call?
Alderman Bekavich.
Aye.
Verhaelen.
No.
Tillman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Item 11 is a motion to award the video display RFB to Communications Engineering Company in the amount of $68,121.90 for the new City Hall and Library.
I'll make a couple of opening comments, and clearly there's lots of questions on the number here. It does seem quite a few, but we believe they're all justified. The estimate before the bid was $76,286. The low bid's coming in at $68,121. We expect to have very little paper that's displayed for the public in the new building. We expect for both the public as well as our employees, we're going to be messaging through monitors. Those monitors are going to be located in employee areas. They will have different messages throughout. So we've got a very sophisticated software system that's going to allow us to create groupings of all of these monitors that have different messaging on them. So for instance, the health department right now, if you're familiar with it, there's a lot of paper, there's a lot of brochures, there's a lot of activities out of the health department that are appropriate to it. It's got a monitor as you come into the health department area that will be displaying health information. There will be some health information, immunizations and things like that that are good for the general public. Those messages will take place on monitors that are in some of the public foyer areas. Okay, we've got employee-only monitors so that we can get health insurance messaging, other city messaging to the employees that will be different than the public messaging. Once we work out the bugs in that system, we intend to have monitors at all of our other facilities as a way to communicate with all of the different departments. So we would have one at each of the fire stations or a couple at each of the fire stations, the street department, and so on and so forth. So there are monitors located throughout the area for messaging. There's a lot of public areas in the library, for instance, where we're going to be messaging events, recreation events, and so forth, where we're going to be scrolling activity that we have. They may have 8-second scrolls, and there's basically a format that's attractive for people so that they can look at it and monitor those kinds of things. They're located literally throughout the entire building. They're in practically all of the meeting rooms and the public spaces that are out there, and we believe that that's a really significant portion of the messaging that we have. One of the questions that I had was the power draw, because some of our power assumptions here, if you remember when we did our ROI on the geothermal, was based on the current operations. This is clearly a different operation than what we have now. And I'm assured there's not a very significant power draw on these things. And apparently they go into a sleep mode, or a number of them can go into a sleep mode if we're not actively using them. We could get into detail in terms of all of the locations. We'd have to go through the plans, or if that's something you want to see, we can certainly do that. In the end, we've got 46 monitors for $68,000. So you see, we're 12 or 1,500. I didn't do the math on that, you know, on average. The smallest ones we've got are 32s, and I think we go up to 90s in terms of the different areas. And I think we can get into the detail if you'd like. Maybe Jill can talk about where they're located throughout the library, and we can talk about that in the common space in the city hall.
Let's see if those questions come up. Alderman Kirkowski.
Jerry and Cesar, so you talked about the monitors that the aldermen are going to have. So I'm assuming that if the system is up and running, then the clerk's office won't have to spend time and money printing these up. We'll be able to call up all these items on the monitors in front of us, correct? And
That's correct.
so saving time and money and not killing trees.
I like my paper, Steve.
Visual, I understand, visual.
Council really is the only one to get the
Okay.
paper right now.
Thank you.
Alderman Gale.
Jerry, can you, I imagine we had the same type of consultants help us with selecting what we needed and where it needed to go on this.
The same team that I talked about previously had done that, and we talked about how we wanted to operate, and I think it's really important. We are talking about operating very differently than we do right now, that it's a very different way that we're going to engage not only the public, but our employees, and we're going to do that, for the most part, paperlessly.
And this, these are, I forgot how many, 46?
46.
That's spread over how many thousand square feet of the two buildings?
90,000 square feet. So just for instance, one of the ways we're going to be working differently, we've got a shared open space between our building inspectors, our community development professionals, and then our engineering folks. And they're all in a fairly large open office area. In that area, we have, I think it's either an 80 or 90-inch monitor that's out there that's viewable by the entire staff. Again, when you think about operations, we're out on the street, somebody's tracking mud from a project. One of the inspectors out's taking a picture. Remember those hockey pucks or the, I won't say it, ClickShare. They're able to go out. It's in their phone. They put that in. They show it on. Everybody in the office gets to see what's happening. It aids communications very, very significantly. That's how we're operating throughout the building with a lot of those kinds of monitors to make sure that we're communicating, sharing information, real-time types of things. Same thing with the public, making sure we have relevant information as the public comes to the primary business counter that we have. There's monitors throughout that space that are going to be talking about things that are of interest to them. Right across from that area is going to be kind of our showpiece monitor. We've either got, again, an 80 or a 90-inch monitor. We're going to be demonstrating awards that we've gotten, new businesses that we have, work, life, play. Those are all going to be visuals that are going to scroll through there, as opposed to trying to put pictures together up and posters and that kind of thing. Just a very different way that we're looking to operate the building.
Duncan?
No, I had one other question that just came to me. Given the fact that some of these are going to be, and some of these very large monitors are going to be in public usage areas, I imagine, I trust and I hope that there is some kind of public-friendly type of screen that is not quite as fragile as maybe some of the stuff we wear and we use at our homes.
These are all commercial grade monitors as opposed to residential. And specifically, you know, in terms of what the, how much they're going to take abuse, we don't expect there's going to be a lot. In the end, we have insurance. But I mean, that's not, I'm not trying to be glib. I just don't know how much of an issue that'll be. That potentially could be an issue for us.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? Motion on 11.
Oh, I got one.
Go ahead.
Fair day.
You said in the background it lists 46 display screens, but yet if I add the list up on quantity, I come up with 92. What gives with this?
That's the mounting hardware as well.
Oh,
So we've got the mounting
46
hardware, so
times.
it's a double.
gotcha. Okay.
Done? Alderman Guzikowski?
Just real quick, the monitors, are these just for the city hall and library only? Or these include additional monitors that are going to be put at the streets?
They do not
fire
include
department?
at the other locations. We want to get this up and running before we send this out to the other buildings, but I have talked with the department heads and said that we expect that that's how we're going to message to the other buildings as well, and that eventually those will be in the capital budgets for purchase. The distribution network is going to be the fiber optic system that we put in, so here's a use of that fiber backbone. We're going to be able to connect all of our facilities and message them in what we think are cost-effective as well as overall effective ways. We've been having some difficulty trying to, with the multiple shifts at the police department and the fire department, it's sometimes pretty difficult to get the proper messages out there. There's
So this would allow us
Yep.
the ability to do it once we've
Yep.
got it figured out at City Hall and Library.
The other thing that we've talked with, for instance, the state about is we'd like a live feed from their traffic video cams. So we can have those, if you've been to the Department of Transportation and you see them do that, we told them we very much wanted to be the guinea pig if they hadn't done it anyplace. So they said, we're on. So that kind of thing we see as a public asset. So, as creative as we can be, we can put different things on these monitors.
Well, I can tell you that at my day job, we employ this and pretty much all these different items that we've already talked about today every day. So this is one way of rapid communication throughout our plant, and we can share the information with all of our plants, whether it's in Butler, Wisconsin, or Toledo, Ohio. So this is right up where we need to be, I think.
Okay. Anything else? Motion on 11?
Gail will move to award the video display RFB to Communications Engineering Company in the amount of $68,121.90 for the new City Hall and Library.
Kirkowski will second.
Roll call.
Alderman Verhaelen.
No.
Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Bekavich.
Aye.
Item 12 is a motion to award the digital signage system, RFB, to CEC Communications Engineering Company in the amount of $173,897.82 for the new City Hall and Library. Before you do that, at the beginning of your technology speech, you talked about what our budget was, CIP and building, before we got the specifics. What was that number? Was plus or minus 20,000?
About $1,150,000, something like that.
That was the total budget?
Yep.
And then we came in,
We think we're right about there, maybe a little bit under.
okay, good. Just wanted to make that clear.
The digital signage estimate, this was one that came in, the bids came in a little higher than the estimate. The estimate was $160,658. The low bid came in at $173,897.82. What this is it's messaging and electronic display in all of the conference rooms and reservations. It's also a very sophisticated system for messaging for employees. For instance, we don't have a public address system in the City Hall side on this because this system allows the messaging to occur on everybody's computers. So part of the electronic messaging that we've got is on people's personal computers and electronic devices. Some people use those. Some people don't have theirs plugged in ever. This is digital signage basically throughout the building.
The software that we bid out here, which was selected, is called Vizix, and that software is also the software that will be used to power the PEG channels and to send out the recordings of the council meetings, plan commission meetings. So it will not only be used for digital signage inside the buildings, but that software also will be used to push your recorded meetings out.
Since you brought up the meetings, how does the technology enhance what we currently do, which is live broadcast or live cablecast, and then a link on the current website? How is that changing with the new technology?
Well, we currently use Tightrope, and software in that package right now works fairly well, but we do have issues with it at times, and it's more hardware issues than software issues at this point. But this new technology is more sophisticated than that. It allows different security rights based upon users and who can record, who can program, who can push software out there. It allows you to create, as far as the PEG channel goes, it allows you to create more vibrant or more exciting displays that the public will see when they go to those channels. The one caveat to this is not the connection to Time Warner or UVerse, and they are coming into the building separate of this. So right now I'm dealing with Time Warner, but this software will allow us to create more exciting information out there for the public. It allows us to create more video for them, to create more action type things. Instead of just displaying text on channel 25, we'll actually be able to create and display some video out there for them to see, the public as well, keep them more informed.
Okay. Questions?
Okay. If you want more information, the software will reside in our, the audio video room over in the, outside the council chambers, and it will, along with the hardware there, it will sit in that room. It will make it more accessible for a user. Instead of doing an automated system like we currently have, where we're relying on preset images or zooms for the cameras, this will allow us to have a user there who can actually, if something goes haywire, focus in, zoom in, change. Instead of having a preset where all 7 of you, or actually there's more than that up there now, but all of you are shown at once, we'll be able to focus in on one individual or one side of the room or the presentation. So it will create a more interesting, has a potential to create a more interesting council meeting or planning commission meeting.
On the tour, we're showing a room that's kind of off to the side, on the south side of the council.
That's correct.
Okay, so is that media accessible? Do they have the ability to patch in or whatever they?
That, we did not put media patches in for trucks like they did for the Sikh temple shooting where they all rolled up with
Right.
media patch. We do have a connection there, but what we'll have to do is pipe that out to wherever they are and then do a splitter out there, which is what we ended up doing over at the police department.
So we can handle it, it's just,
We
it
can
involves some labor. Okay, and certainly if we could handle that, we can handle anything else. Other questions? Motion on 12. Oh, Alderman Verhaelen popped in.
Just a comment, I guess, on the last 4 or 5 items. You know, there's about $1 million, maybe a little bit more of spending here in the last 15 minutes. I guess most of the majority of the council and other people here and that are running the various departments are pretty much willing to go all in with this stuff. And I just hope that, you know, moving forward, this is as cost-effective as what everyone thinks it's going to be. I just don't think it's going to be as cost-effective as what everyone's putting it out to be, and hopefully jumping in with both feet without, you know, going on a little bit more of a test basis on some of these things. Hopefully it works out, but I'm always the guy that takes the other side of the aisle.
Anything else?
I think Sig wants to.
Did you want to make a comment? Come on up. Name and address for the record.
Hi, Sig Tomkowski, 210 West Oakleaf Drive. I came to the meeting because the items that you've been reviewing are probably the most exciting thing that really represents coming into the 21st century, using technology, providing everybody with the tools in this modern age. It's hard for me to say that because I have to call my 10-year-old granddaughter in to turn on the DVD player, et cetera, or my son to decide what kind of laptop or tablet I need. But this is why I came here tonight, because this is very exciting. And it really brings, like I say, this enterprise, this organization of $22 million into the future. and also gives like I said, everybody the tools so that you can even attract people who know that you have the wherewithal technologically to make their jobs more efficient and to move into the future. The other thing was, I think we talked about different departments. I think that the health department is going to be really excited by having these kind of tools to really reach out to attract people to come to learn more about health and those issues that are under their accountability as well as others. So this is very exciting. I'll stay for the rest of the meeting, but this is really cool.
All right, thanks for your comments. Appreciate it. Anything else? Otherwise, motion on 12.
Gail, move toward the digital signage RFB to CEC Communications Engineering Company in the amount of $173,897.82 for the new City Hall and library.
Guzekowski, I'll second.
Roll call?
Alderman Toman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Bekavich.
Aye.
Verhaelen.
No.
And Mayor, I just want to add,
Yes.
Alderman Verhaelen's comments aside, we may have spent a little over $1 million here, but these are investments that the city has decided, not willy-nilly, not rushed to judgment. These were decisions made over multiple years with great forethought and great input from myriad staff members, consultants. Much thought and effort went into this process, and even though Alderman Verhaelen wasn't around for much of that discussion, this is done with great effort and will be a significant contribution to the city moving forward. And it's really a groundbreaking, from a city standpoint, a groundbreaking investment for our future.
Okay. Where are we at?
Item 13.
All right. A non-technology item, first one in a while. 13 is a resolution number 11642-0901115. It would approve a third amendment to the lease with the Oak Creek Little League. City Administrator?
I'll be brief. We have an expiration of the lease with the Little League. I think that happened by a default. This is an extension of that lease for 15 years and another 15-year extension beyond that. Little in the way of changes in terms of the lease.
All right, so, because someone will ask, there's no significant changes in the lease.
They're not. I had contemplated those and thought better of it.
All right, because that's, frankly, a great relationship we have with the Little League, fantastic complex. Actually think that complex will actually help us at Drexel Town Square once we
I think that's probably right. A lot of activity there, and the folks can head on over to the square after they're done with it.
Yeah, restaurants, and there's actually, the hotel as well. So, any other discussion on 13? Alderman Kirkowski?
I'm sure everybody knows I'm involved with Little League in general, and past with Oak Creek Little League when my kids played there, and they have over the years just created a wonderful complex over there. The kids that play there, they play Little League baseball for a reasonable amount, and they do a wonderful job with the Little League program. And I tell you, it's tough to manage with all the regulations I have in the Little League program, but they do a wonderful job. And they accidentally went past their date, and we caught it by trying to find the original lease, which, by the way, dates back to 1988, and when we couldn't find it in City Hall, I asked former City Attorney Haskin if he could find it, and it took him like 30 minutes to find it, so I can't imagine what his office looks like. Have it that organized.
He probably had Melissa look it up.
Yeah. But anyways, it's a wonderful program over there.
Steve, you probably have a good idea. That organization serves hundreds of families, maybe
About 600 a year. And a lot of those kids not only play Little League ball, but they play Oak Creek Junior Knights, which is you have to play Little League to play in that, and it's a tournament team concept. So they go out into all around and play tournament ball, and the Junior Knights, they host 2 tournaments a year, so they bring in people from all over. Fall ball, as a matter of fact, right now they have a team from Janesville coming in on Sundays to play. So. And like we talk about what Drexel Town Square will do for that complex, they'll come in, they'll play, they'll go across to Meijer, Chick-fil-A, or wherever.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I've gotten the fortunate chance to throw out the first pitch for the last 3 seasons. And you talk about a community event that brings whole families out. I can't even think of another one that does a better job than Oak Creek Little League. I mean, 600, I mean, just a lot of people having a good time. Their schedule is so busy. They're out there every few days. So, I mean, it's a great organization, and I would enthusiastically support this. Any other questions before we make a motion? Motion on 13.
Kirkowski make a motion to approve resolution number 11642-090115, approving a third amendment to the lease with the Oak Creek Little League.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call?
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Bekavich.
Aye.
Verhaelen.
Aye.
Tillman.
Aye.
Item 14, vendor summary, which you have in front of you, and City Finance Director's here to answer any detailed questions you have. Alderman Bekavich?
I have a question. Where's the Drexel landfill?
The former Drexel landfill is at 1800 East Drexel Avenue, north side of Drexel Avenue, a little bit west of the Korean Church. So it's a vacant parcel, served as a landfill for yard waste for several years in the 80s. Was eventually clay capped over and is under order for monitoring gas wells and groundwater monitoring wells.
Okay, never remember seeing that fee before.
Yeah, that's a good question. I never heard of it. Does it ever come up? And
It hasn't. We have an agreement with MES to do the monitoring, which they do semi-annually.
okay. Alderman Gale?
Just for Bridget's sake, because she knows I love to look at this stuff. In the back of the report, I actually did look at the entire report. I like the general fund by vendor. I'm not sure if that's new to this particular iteration. I like it. The year-to-date column would be helpful for some of the bigger ticket ones. Maybe you can consider that.
I'm not sure that I can tweak the report to that extent, and I have not. I'm glad you're pleased with this, because I have not been able to figure out how to expand the width of that column for you without.
Well, our outside
sending
legal
it-
counsel may not want people to see what, in fact, we spend on some of them. So anyway, and
You can ask for any particular line item, and I can get you that information individually.
and the breakout by the funds in the back, I think, is useful too for people.
Yeah, good point. Any other questions, comments? Otherwise, motion.
Gail moved to approve the summary report, usually it's vendor summary report, in the amount of $549,629.94.
Kirkowski will second.
Roll call?
Alderman Verhaelen.
Aye.
Tillman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Bekavich.
Aye.
Item 15, I'll hand it off to Mike Simmons from engineering.
This is the Southfield apartment expansion in the vicinity of 13th and Rawson Avenue. 5 more buildings on the site. And I believe it's 40 units. At any rate, this is the stormwater maintenance agreement, which is common with all new developments. Their stormwater management, usually pertaining to retention ponds as one component of the stormwater management. This site has 2 retention ponds. So basically, this sets in stone the agreement that they will maintain those ponds as needed, and if they do not, the city has the ability to hire a contractor to do that maintenance and recoup the costs.
Okay, questions? Motion?
Kirkowski will make a motion to approve resolution number 11636-090115, approving a stormwater management practices maintenance agreement with Southfield Expansion 2 LLC for their Southfield apartment expansion at 6881 South 13th Street.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call?
Alderman Kirkowski.
Aye.
Bekavich.
Aye.
Verhaelen.
Aye.
Tillman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
And 16. Mike?
This is also related to the Southfield expansion. This is the approval of the development agreement, which has been signed by the developer. And it governs the agreement for public water main that the developer will install to serve the development. Will install it and be responsible for all costs of the installation and the inspection thereof, and then deed those facilities over to the city. Also governs sanitary sewer that needs to serve the development, which will not be public, but is termed a private interceptor. Therefore, it will be constructed and inspected to the strict standards of MMSD and the Department of Natural Resources. So there are costs that they are agreeing to incur, those being the inspection costs.
Okay, questions? Motion on 16.
Kirkowski will make a motion to approve resolution number 11643-090115, approving the Southfield Expansion 2 development agreement for the design and installation of public improvements at 6871, 6881, 6881R, 6933, 6939, and 6955 South 13th Street.
Guzekowski will second.
Roll call?
Alderman Bekavich.
Aye.
Verhaelen.
Aye.
Tillman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Licensing, Alderman Kirkowski.
The License Committee did not meet prior to the council meeting. Tentative recommendations are as follows. Item 17, Kirkowski will make a motion to grant an operator's license to the 15 individuals listed on the agenda. Favorable background report was received.
Gail will second.
Roll call?
Alderman Verhaelen.
Aye.
Tillman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Bekavich.
Aye.
18.
Kirkowski will make a motion to grant a Class A liquor cider-only license to Pilot Travel Centers LLC, DBA Pilot Travel Center, number 040, George B. Kuchma, agent 2031 South Ryan Road. Favorable background report received.
Gail will second.
Roll call?
Alderman Tillman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Bekavich.
Aye.
Verhaelen.
Aye.
And 19.
Kirkowski will make a motion to grant an original Class A combination license to Quick Trip, Inc., DBA Quick Trip, number 290, Kevin Butler, agent 7880 South 10th Street, subject to issuance of an occupancy permit and final approval by the City Sanitarian and Inspection Department. Favorable background report received.
Gail will second.
Roll call?
Alderman Gale.
Aye.
Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Bekavich.
Aye.
Verhaelen.
Aye.
Tillman.
Aye.
And motion to adjourn.
Guzekowski will make a motion to adjourn.
Kirkowski will second.
Roll call?
Alderman Guzekowski.
Aye.
Kirkowski.
Aye.
Bekavich.
Aye.
Verhaelen.
Aye.
Tillman.
Aye.
Gale.
Aye.
Thank you for being here. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next Tuesday. Have a good night.